All right, this is If My People Bible Study Part 202. We are in the book of Philippians and another one of Paul's books. Of course, he wrote most of the New Covenant. And um, we'll start right with yeah, it always starts very well. Paul always is a typical lawyer. He starts off with an excellent statement. Chapter 1, verse 1. By the way, this was written between 60 and 62, probably towards the latter part around 60, 62. As with many of Paul's writings, he had plenty of time to write in certain circumstances. To understand this, at times he was in chains, at times he was not, at times he was under house arrest, at times he was escorted, and he went very often to many places, and that would still be a prisoner. So don't get confused with the just because a prisoner doesn't mean sitting in jail with chains tied to a wall upside down or anything with water thrown on you. Some people ask that question about it. They get a little confused about the word prisoner. Chapter 1, verse 1. Paul and Timothy, servants of Messiah Yeshua, to all the saints in Messiah Yeshua at Philippi, together with the overseers and the deacons. In those days, they chose 10 people to be in charge. You know, as you understand, there were the disciples, the 12 disciples, and then Yeshua, counting 13, and Yeshua departed, and then Judas departed. Yeshua went up, and Judas is awaiting judgment. And so there was one missing, so they replaced that person, so that makes 12. So now they have groups around, and they're making groups of 10. Decans or decans, thus the word deacons. And so Paul makes a number of statements right off the bat that's kind of interesting. Verse 7, chapter 1, it is right for me to feel this way about you since I have you in my heart, for whether I'm in chains or defending and confirming the good news, all of you share in Elohim's grace with me. Now, this is just a reminder and comment. This is just a reminder that Paul wrote Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians, Philemon while in prison, thus the prison letters. His love for Yahweh was so great and strong, and yet he was sitting in a prison. And it's not the most wonderful place. Most of the time it's just cold and damp. It's like camping out. Most people can't imagine camping out their entire life. Well, Paul practically did. He camped out his entire life. And he's just full of the ruach here. He's just he's doing good. He's doing fine. Verse 15, we'll start there. It is true that some preach Messiah out of envy and rivalry, but others out of goodwill. The latter do so in love, knowing that I am put here for the defense of the good news. The former preach Messiah out of selfish ambitions, not sincerely, supposing they can stir up trouble for me while I'm in chains. Comment. We hear this today when you hear others say to you, people know the ministry that I'm in, and they know I don't have a large congregation. They know I don't take a salary. They know I don't have a bunch of people flocking to me every Sunday morning for church. And they say things like this. Oh, you have problems because you have sinned. If you get rid of your sin, God will give you a church, a building. They don't get it. It's not the building. The building is your temple now. Oh, you need to send your church money, and you will be free and you will be prosperous. Why don't you take a salary, Bruce? Why didn't Paul? Paul didn't take a salary. He chose not to. Now, he said for those that do and do the work, in other words, that's what they do, he's just fine with that. Somebody needs to support him, and he should be supported by numerous people, at least 10 others. One good friend of mine had a church for years in the Chicago area, and he had 10 people in his church. That's it. And each one gave a 10% to him for years, and each one probably made about $150,000 a year. Now add that up. So how much was Steve making? 150 grand to be a teacher for 10 people. If the 10 people are happy, I'm happy. That's just fine. Okay. I can give you more examples. I've given you the one with the church with 200 people with 30 pastors in it already. Verse 21. For to me to live, this is one of my brother's favorite quotes that he quoted in so many of his messages. For to me to live is Messiah, and to die is gain. Comment. Paul is looking forward to a perfect resurrected body without sin and full of the Ruach. Paul wasn't one of the healthiest people. He had some issues, but it didn't bother him. Verse 22. If I am to go on living in the body, this will mean fruitful labor for me. Yet what shall I choose? I do not know. I'm torn between the two. I desire to be depart, passed away, and to be with Messiah, which is far by better. Now, does that mean that Paul went to Messiah right then, right there at his death? There are several trains of thought on that. The body, obviously, the Bible says no. That body will be resurrected. The earthly body will be resurrected and supernaturalized, because no earthly body can go to the final heaven. It cannot. Nothing on this earth will be going to the final heaven, because it is sinned. It will be destroyed. And we will have a new body and a new heart, supernatural, living with the Father, with our soul, which will live forever with the Father, and we will be the bride of the Son. Then there's the train of thought that people, to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. Well, now that's a wonderful thing. So if it's talking about the souls, then the souls will not be resurrected because they're already in heaven. Then there's the train of thought of the sleeping situation, where your soul sleeps. In three-dimensional understanding, right, left, and through, 3 dimensions, I understand all those arguments, but take this one. Listen to this one. There are at least 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, possibly more than 10 dimensions of time-space travel. And if time doesn't go in a linear form, straight down a highway, it goes in a circular form, kind of like a slinky. A slinky goes this way, but it also goes this way and this way. A person died 5,000 years ago, and the soul goes to heaven. To be absent from the body is to be present with Adonai, the Master. And it goes through this time-space, and somebody else passes away tonight, and then they all meet together one day when Yahweh calls everyone home to him. After the great white throne judgment, all that meets at the same time. So someone's been traveling through space for 5,000 years, but you see, there is no time in that dimension. It's just, you fall asleep at night, you sleep really good, and you wake up in the morning without waking up at night, and you have no time-space understanding whatsoever about 8 solid hours laying in a bed, and you never woke up. Understand that? So I always, as you understand, plan for the worst and hope for the best. So I don't have a problem with that, but I don't tell people that their loved ones are looking down on them. I don't tell people, and I would never say that. And that's what ministers throughout the world say, because as they said before, and I've told you, they say that because they say, Bruce, we just want to make them feel comfortable, and we just want to console them. And I said, so you tell them a big fat lie. Because some people do go back to cemeteries and places, or talk to their passed away people, friends, lovers, family, their entire life, thinking they're actually sitting on their graves talking to them, actually think they're talking to their family and their loved ones. That is just wrong. So, having put that together, Philippians is a love letter while he's in prison. So let's read some Torah. Verse 27, where are we at? Still in chapter 1. Whatever happens, conduct yourselves in a manner worthy of the good news of Messiah. Then whether I come and see you or only hear about you in my absence, I will know that you stand firm in one ruach, contending as one man for the faith of the good news. That's a command, and it's through Paul, through the Son. Chapter 2, verse 1. If you have any encouragement from being united with Messiah, if any comfort from his love, if any fellowship with the Ruach, if any tenderness and compassion, then make my joy complete by being like-minded. In other words, he's not talking about himself, he's telling you to be like-minded, having the same love, being in one Ruach and one purpose. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit, but in humility consider others better than yourselves. Each of you should look not only to your own interest, but also to the interest of others. Your attitude should be the same as that of Messiah Yeshua, who, being in the very nature Elohim, did not consider equality with Elohim something to be grasped. Let me read 7 and 8. But made himself nothing, taking the very stature and nature of a servant, being made in human likeness, and being found in appearance as a man, he humbled himself and became obedient to death, even death on a cross, a tree. 9. Therefore Yahweh exalted him to the highest place and gave him the name that is above every name, and that the name of Yeshua every knee should bow, in heaven and on earth and under the earth. Did you catch that? In heaven, earth, and under the earth, and every tongue confess that Yeshua Messiah is the Son, is Yahweh's the Son, the glory, the Father. Verse 12, Torah. Therefore, my dear friends, as you have always obeyed, not only in my presence, but now much more in my absence, continue to work out your salvation with fear and trembling. Always fear the Lord. Do everything without complaining or arguing, so that you may become blameless and pure children of Elohim, without fault in a crooked and depraved generation, in which you shine like stars in the universe, as you hold the word of life, in order that I may boast on the day, Messiah, that I did not run or labor for nothing. Finally, my brothers, chapter 3, rejoice in Master. It is no trouble for me to write the same things to you again, and it is a safeguard for you. Watch out for those dogs, those men who do evil, those mutilators of the flesh. Verse 15, all of us who are mature should take such a view of things, and if on some point you think differently, that too Elohim will make clear to you. Only let us live up to what we've already obtained. Join with others in following the example, my brothers, and take note of those who live according to the pattern we give you. Chapter 4, therefore, my brothers, you whom I love and long for, my joy and crown, that is how you stand firm in the Master, dear friends. Rejoice in Yahweh always. I say it again. Rejoice. That's a love letter in prison. All right. See you at the next reading.